And joining us now on our Book Talk segment, great to welcome a woman who's written a very interesting book, applies to many situations in our lives, business, personal, maybe social, and churches or whatever we get together. And that's kind of the title of the book, The Art of Gathering, How We Meet and Why It Matters. We're joined today by Priya Parker, a very interesting woman, interesting career in her own right. She's the founder of Thrive Labs and helps many organizations and people with their meetings. She's also trained in the field of conflict resolution. Very good skill to have, and she joined us by telephone today. Priya, good to talk with you. How are you?
I'm great. How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
I'm doing great. Yeah, good to have a chance to talk with you. I had an opportunity to read through the book. Before we get into that, conflict resolution, that's a good thing to learn. A lot of conflict out there today.
Exactly. Well, I approach all of this work through the lens of conflict resolution and through, I'm a group conflict resolution facilitator. So my training is in group dialogue when a community or members of a group from different sides of a conflict, it could be race or ethnicity, my background, or politics, how do you actually create gatherings where people are together, more than just two people, having a conversation where there is conflict, and how do you begin to transform the nature of their relationships and how they interact with each other? And any time you gather a group, there's always areas of what I call heat. And some of the magic of gatherings is actually approaching that heat in a safe way, rather than kind of remaining on the surface and keeping on pleasantries.
Yeah, you talk in the book, and obviously there's topics that are going to create heat, like you said. I think, unfortunately, and this is a product, I think, a lot of television, particularly maybe some of the debate shows, people tend to get on there and they yell at each other. That doesn't necessarily have to be a conflict. You can disagree with somebody, but still have a little respect. I guess we have to kind of figure that out, right? And you can have
absolutely. And I think the level of civic. So the level of civic discourse has gotten deeply problematic, and it says at the highest levels. But part of that is we are when we do gather, we're mirroring what we see in the popular culture, or we avoid it altogether. And I come from a family where there's very strongly held, very different political views. We voted for different people, and in my extended family, and it's become very problematic at our gatherings. And I know a lot of people can relate to that in some form. And one of the things that I've started experimenting with, and that I think work particularly when I studied these gatherings, is to not ask people their opinions so much when it's about something that's so heated, but rather to focus on their experiences. So when we talk about opinions, and most things you see on TV is people's opinions on something, kind of analyzing this event from yesterday, or giving their perspective on why such and such said so and so, and name calling people. But actually, if you to the same person, if you say, tell me about what it was like to grow up in Queens, or tell me what it was like to grow up in Topeka. Tell me what it was like to grow up in as a middle child of 7 siblings. All of a sudden, if you're really listening, people will start telling you, at some level, the reasons and the experiences that shape their worldview, and you can begin to actually understand, if not change them, in a way that at least is a beautiful conversation.
Yeah, I think you make a good point. I think you even talk about in the book, I know you talk about it in the book, if you have just your own parties, kind of set it up where you don't want it to be a dull party, so you want to set it up where you have people have that kind of interaction with each other. And then the heat, like you said, is good. You just have some ground rules, right, before you start.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things I talk about in the book is a dinner structure that I created with a friend of mine, Tim Lebrecht, and we call it 15 Toasts, and it's right. Sort of one solution. There are many of kind of what do you actually do at a dinner party, or what do you actually do when you gather people in a group of 12 or 15 people and kind of want to have a meaningful experience but kind of don't have a way in. And so we experimented, and we came up with this format where at the beginning of the night you choose a theme, and the theme could be trust, it could be risk, it could be strangers, it could be borders, it could be really anything under the sun, tribe, community, local, and you ask people at some point in the night to ding their glass, stand up, old school style, and give a toast to that theme. But the toast needs to be a story or an experience from their life and how it connects to it. And the only other rule is that the last person has to sing their toast. Which usually, at least in the American context, speeds up the other toasts. And one of the things we've learned, and we've done more than 20 of these dinners in a variety of different contexts, is that the themes that have a little bit of darkness or edge or kind of in them tend to be much more interesting nights. So we've done 15 toasts to rebellion, 15 toasts to the dark, however you want to interpret that. And when people are beginning to kind of show and relate to parts of our life that we all have, but aren't just kind of stuck on this cult of positivity, it becomes for very, very memorable evenings.
How about, again, a lot of people in the work world have meetings every day, whether they're small, stand-up meetings or large, full meetings, conference meetings. I know a lot of people hate those because they tend to be either dull or you hear bad news. But I know you have some tips in the book of how to do that, right? Do that properly.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and particularly, this is true in both work and social gatherings, is to start with purpose, to figure out, why am I having this gathering? And one of the problems with a lot of our work meetings, and whether they're conferences or anything else, is that we start with form. An organization thinks, or a company thinks, okay, everybody's having a conference, we need a conference, we should have a conference. Let's invite everyone we know. It's not going to be a good conference. Because they're focusing on the form before they actually ask, do we want to have a conference? If we did want to have a conference, why do we want to have a conference? What is it about a conference that could bring us new clients or bring us new product ideas or have a way to interact with a new group of community that is worth the time and the effort that we couldn't do based on what we're already doing. So when people actually decide in a work context that this is worth gathering for, the first thing is to have a very specific point of view of what the purpose of the gathering is for. And this could be true for internal meetings as well. If you want to design a new product, to think about who could be part of this meeting that could really think fresh, and not necessarily go on the normal lines of kind of the people on your team. Starting to say, I'm actually going to invite somebody in some context for a product designer to invite marketing or sales into the first meeting of a product design is radical. People wouldn't understand why you're doing it. But they come from a very different perspective, and so maybe they're friends outside of work, or maybe they think very differently, or maybe they want to get a sales eye in on an early stage of a process. And all of a sudden, you start creating very specific, meaningful, disputable gatherings and meetings that people want to come to.
Yeah. And I thought a very interesting chapter, and at the end you say you got to be able to end these things properly too, right? Give a wrap up. A lot of meetings just kind of go on, and they never really end properly. I thought that was an important way.
Exactly, they kind of either peter out or kind of end because the clock hits 3 p.m. Most gatherings, unfortunately, they kind of stop. They don't end. And one of the things that this is from the field of conflict resolution as well, but is basically you have to kind of close an experience, particularly a dinner party or really anything that allows people to remember what has transpired here. And one of the things that's interesting about gatherings is people have different memories they can have the same experience, but they have different memories of what actually happened, or different ways they create meaning about what happened. And so the host, one of the things to do at the end of the night or end of a meeting is to remind people, and this is actually in a way it's a form of power, to curate what you want them to remember by repeating it. So if after 15 toasts, if there's 2 toasts that were particularly beautiful, to say, for example, I loved it when Mickey shared that story about his grandfather only realizing that he was Jewish when he was 80, and how it completely transformed the entire family's conception of who they thought they were, right? And all of a sudden, everyone is back at that story, but they've also heard it again, and you can add meaning to what it meant to you, and it kind of helps people digest what took place before they leave and enter back into the world.
Name of the book is The Art of Gathering, How We Meet and Why It Matters. And we've been talking with Priya Parker today. And Priya, I guess we'll have to do our wrap-up now. Give out your website.
Our website is priyaparker.com / the book. You can follow me at Priya Parker on Twitter and Instagram, and send me your stories and your experiences of your best gatherings and the things that work for you. Join the conversation at hashtag The Art of Gathering.
Great. Priya, pleasure talking to you. Hopefully we can do it again. Thanks for being with us today.
I'd love it. Thank you so much.